Yep, and looks like we're about to start here soon. If you've never seen a spoiler log race before, the runners have 15 minutes to study the spoiler logs, so they know where all the items are and they can plan out their route in advance, getting all the progression and all the safeties that they want to get.
And it looks like they're both starting from Sanctuary and making a beeline for either Lost Woods or Kakariko. Pretty well synchronized, too. Both going for the well before blinds. Interesting.
Yep, we got Fred picking up some extra arrows, both of them picking up some bombs. Pretty much making a beeline exactly for
Ice Rod there. And bow. So you can... Well, our tracker has already marked the locations of the crystals and pendants, so you know that Turtle Rock is required, so they're going to need that Ice Rod. And likewise, Pod is required, so they'll need the bow there from nowhere else.
Yeah, they picked up some rupees there in the well. They're going to be stocking up at a minimum to get into Pod, which they need 110 for. They might also be buying from Zora or just stocking up on some potions later on too.
And this is a really nice, convenient Kakariko. Bow, Ice Rod, one glove, and a sword.
Yep, that's a nice start. Shouldn't have too much trouble with any of the enemies getting around here.
Now we see some route divergence. Pika's clearly good. Oh, Fred just wanted more bombs.
Yep, and looks like Pikapals is taking his glove and just taking the fastest route straight into Eastern here. Not going to bother with Sasha's Closet today.
Yeah, you don't see this route very often, to the point where it's easy to forget it's there. But looks like Fred also remembers that it's the fastest way in. Now, Eastern's a pendant, so either there's an item in here or it's an item ahead. Oh, a nice use of the bow there by Pikapals.
Yep,
and we have them
just picking up the
go
ahead. Sorry about that.
And given that they had what it took to beat Eastern and chose not to beat it, it's pretty safe to say Ped dead.
Definitely at this point. Looks like Fred is going a little out of his way to pick up something extra. Just a heart container, but still nice to have since they're going to need a little extra safety, more than likely.
Yeah, especially early game with green mail. And Pika finds the Titan's Mitts in the back of Escape, so we now have Dark World access.
Yep, and picking up 300 extra rupees as well. That's more than likely all the rupees that he's going to need for the rest of the game there. Looks like they're both heading over to Village of Outcasts. Probably gonna finish Thieves Town, maybe pick up some extra items in this area as well.
Pikapals finds a nice magic fill there. Fred now has his Dark World access. And Pikapals gets the hammer out of the brewery.
Yep, heading right over to these hammer pegs here.
And doing them the slow way because we don't have boots.
It's Bokamadora. Choosing to save and quit instead of going into Thieves Town. Probably gonna maybe use that for Desert or one of the tablets.
Yeah, and I would have been surprised if Pika had gone into Thieves Town just because it's probably easier to do Thieves Town and Skull Woods at the same time. And Pika doesn't have the Fire Rod yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Pika... Ooh, catching the bug net. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I might be picking it up just in case. I might want to grab a fairy later on when he gets a bottle.
Because Aga's dead, so he's not gonna need it to fight Aga or anything. I mean, he has the sword anyway.
Right, and Pika having some bad luck with that 50-50 bomb drop. Still has 3 bombs. He might be heading over to Palace of Darkness, where he can stock up on bombs there, hopefully.
And Fred looks slightly confused. Like he might have been going to Pod, but decided against?
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna stop into Mini Moldrum Cave here as well. More than likely, I'd guess he wants the Fire Rod for the turtle room there in Pod. It's a little difficult without it, or the lamp.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Picking up some extra hearts and bombs up here on his way. Meanwhile, Pikapal is making his way through Palace of Darkness, stopping in the Shredder room to pick up 1 small key, and then heading over to the right side. One nice thing about Palace of Darkness and these spoiler log races is you can route it pretty conveniently. You can just pick up just as many keys as you need to get through. And get to where you're going.
And it looks like you were right about Fred just wanted the fire rod, and then he was going to pod.
Yep, and Pikapals picks up his flute, the Palace of Darkness. So that'll give him access to Mire eventually, and also access to Death Mountain.
There's the hook shot in the vanilla big key chest.
Yeah, that's a nice item to have. Not only does it give you access to a few areas in the game, like the east side of Death Mountain or the back of Swamp, you can also get around a little bit faster until you find the boots.
Yeah, and we now logically have full Death Mountain access between the flute, the hookshot, and the hammer.
Looks like Pikapals heading to the back. Still needs at least his big key, and then...
Ooh, and he takes the death.
Yeah, that's...
That is this... Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Yeah, one of the trickier parts of these spoiler races is you want to have a balance between, getting things done, picking up items, and getting crystals as fast as you can, and spending the extra time to pick up safety items. So you often find yourself in sort of low percent situations, and you have to kind of take that risk.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, that that's a lucky break for Fred because he fell probably a minute or two behind as a result of second-guessing himself entering pod, and that gave him an opportunity to catch up quite a bit.
That's right. We could see a little back and forth, maybe. Pikapal is setting up the hammer jump here, trying to save a key, I guess.
Nice job.
Yep, gets a first try.
And our runners can do a high five in the dark maze. And Pika takes another death. And Fred's got to watch his health, too. Well, that's one way to watch your health.
Yeah, that's a pretty convenient art there. Yeah, you can see here how the extra time Fred spent just picking up those extra hearts is just paying off a little bit.
And our viewers couldn't see what Fred just got out of that chest, but it was the Master Sword. And nice setup with the Death Warp. Okay, Pika's got to be careful with this hammer jump because he only has 2 hearts. It's gonna cost him a bit. So he has no margin for error now going back through the dark maze. But it looks like he's in the corner where he may just have gotten the Master Sword. Since we can't hear his audio, I can't tell for sure.
Yeah, I believe he did. Looks like he's heading up, trying to grab that extra heart as well. And he takes an intentional buff orb here.
What's
doesn't
Fred
have to
getting
get
down
the key.
here? Oh, just a key.
Yeah, since Fred didn't do the bomb jump, he had to spend an extra key.
Oh, that
And,
makes
I think
sense.
it's going down. Yeah, gonna go pick up his big key.
Kind of need that. Ooh, Fred takes a death, and I don't think that one was intentional. So that will put Pikapals back in the lead. And I haven't seen for sure, but I'm reasonably sure Pikapals did get the map. Yeah, Pikapals has the Master Sword.
Yep, and this is the tough part. This is the room that they probably picked up the fire rod for. Pretty difficult without any light at all because those turtles are going to be moving around and knocking you around, and without a lot of health, it's easy for them to kill you before you can get through there.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier when you can actually see what you're doing. And we have Helmasaur.
Yeah, Pikapal is holding out the Master Sword. I believe that sort of extends the hammer's hitbox range a little bit, and it knocks him. Yeah, knocks him. If Helmasaur moves towards him, it'll knock him back a little bit instead of damaging him.
So, it makes the fight very slightly longer. If you're really trying to save a couple of seconds, you wouldn't do that, but it's safer. So, we see our first crystal just shy of 18 minutes in, and I'm not sure the last time I saw Pod as the first crystal in a run.
Yeah, that is rather unusual. Looks like Fred's just behind him, doing the same thing, holding on to the Master Sword, getting a spin in there, and just getting some slashes.
And he gets it, so looks like there's just less than a minute difference between our two runners, maybe 40-45 seconds.
Yep, and we see Pikapals heading up to Death Mountain.
Interesting. I didn't actually check if anything was on the old man, but if there isn't, it's odd that he didn't just activate the flute and flute up Death Mountain. Old man's got a heart container, so maybe this was part of his routing for getting a bit of extra health. Only he's dead rocked.
Worst enemy in the game.
Now, Fred is going to activate the flute, which makes more sense to me because I think it's a bit faster to... Since you have to activate the flute anyway, it's a bit faster to flute up to Death Mountain, and even if you want that heart container, go into that cave from the top, get the old man, and come back out. Oh, chat's asking if Fred skipped the hook shot, and we'll have to see when he bring. Yes, he did, and I think he just realized it, and that's why he's going back to pod.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's gonna cost him quite a bit.
Yeah, and Pikapals picking up the cape. More than likely not necessary. We haven't seen what's on the bumper ledge yet, but a good safety item to have, especially for the Ganon fight.
And he also got a bottle and a couple of heart containers out there, also good safety items. And we get a dip into Pendant Hera.
Oh, but looks like
And
he's
then an
changing his
immediate
weapon.
exit.
Yep,
I
looks
am
like
really
again.
glad the devs fixed that bug that prevented there being progression on tablets, because I feel like since then we've seen a lot of seeds with progression on tablets.
Yeah, and Pikapals getting his mirror, picking up some blue mail on the Spectacle Rock. Probably wanted to get that mirror first because it makes getting out of here just that much faster.
And Pika's thinking. Grabbing the big key, so he's planning on going upstairs. I didn't think there was anything upstairs, but maybe I'm forgetting something. Or maybe it's another heart container or something like that.
Meanwhile, Fred kind of following in Pikapal's footsteps, just grabbing some stuff here in the cave, and probably going to be heading over to the west side as well.
Oh, Pika's getting the small key to go into Hera basement. That makes sense. And Fred did not rescue the old man, did he?
No, he did not. He might be thinking doesn't really need the heart container, and he's only going to be making, depending on how many more trips up Death Mountains will make, might just use the flute instead.
Yeah. That's what I was realizing. Since he has activated the flute, he doesn't necessarily need the save point. And now our audience will get to see what is taking so long in Hera Basement. So, let's consider. Swamp has a pendant. Pikapals just went to an awful lot of trouble to get the mirror and the flippers, though. I'll leave it to chat to figure out possibilities there.
Pikapals making his way through the spiral cave here. Usually one of the more tedious paths to take, especially without the boots, but it's not so bad in a spoiler race where you know something good is going to be there. And he gets the Ether Medallion.
And it does look like Pikapals is going for Swamp now.
Yep, pretty much heading straight there. Meanwhile, Fred heading down into the basement, gonna get his break here and get his flippers too.
Yeah, definitely a couple of minutes between them, though, because Fred still has to do the very long coffee break and spiral cave without the boots.
This is another one of those areas that's a lot nicer in spoiler race than in a regular race, since you can just go straight where you need to be. You don't have to spend any extra time on the left side in particular. Gonna be grabbing the small key, and we'll see where he goes from here.
Going for compass chest. And we have speed.
Yep, boots always nice to have, sort of a fan favorite, if you will. Personally, it's one of the first items that I look for when playing spoiler race.
And if you get them early enough, it can really speed things up, even if they're not necessary. But in this case, there's more to be had in Swamp. So he's going for Argus, which means two possibilities: important item on Argus or important item on Sahasrara.
And Pikapals just using the hook shot to grab those puffballs there, just killing them with slashes. It's a little inconvenient when you have a Master Sword, but not having too much trouble, so.
Yeah, I know some runners, if they're doing it with the Master Sword, they'll do two at a time and then a spin attack, but is just doing one by one. Nice fire rod shots, though. I don't think you can one cycle the second phase of Argus with the Master Sword, can you?
No, you'd need silver arrows to do that.
Well, I've seen it.
Technically,
I've seen a one cycle with the Tempered Sword if you do 2 fire rod shots and a spin attack with Tempered. I think that one cycles him.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you can't do that with the Master, so... Looks like Pika's taking his boots, heading to the Sanctuary. See where he goes from here.
Looks like Bonk Rocks. And you were saying about the silvers.
Yep, there they are.
So Seagull.
Not going to Sashra just yet. He's going to Village of Outcasts or maybe Skullwoods.
I was a bit surprised that he still hasn't activated his flute. He was right there. He's gonna have to do it because Myers a crystal. Oh, he has the mirror out. Now he's doing it.
Yep. Hopefully you can get back into that portal, though. It looks a little questionable to me.
So this actually gives Fred a bit of time made up because he already activated the flute. And Fred's also doing the one-at-a-time strats.
Yeah, it's probably the more consistent. It can be a little tricky if you try to grab 2 of them and charge a spin.
Yeah, if you're good at it, though, it's a big time save. Well, like 10 seconds or so. And some nice fire rod shots from Fred as well.
Pikapals making his way through Thieves Town. Gets the key dash there.
The thing about Thieves Town is there's almost no time difference between a full clear and a go mode.
Yeah, that's very often true, since you're always going to need that big key. You always need to come up here in the attic and bomb the floor. So really the most time you save is a couple chests in the front, and then maybe the big chest there.
Well, I can tell you here that the small key is in the big chest, so even if you were doing a full clear here, you wouldn't be going over there.
Yep. Meanwhile, Fred's decided to go ahead and turn in his green pendant, so drum roll, and
indicating his displeasure at having to go through swamp for that.
Yep. Picking up a couple things while he's here, just getting some bombs and another bottle.
Or maybe he's just, you know, being like, if you're gonna be this obnoxious and make me go through all that to get the cane, I'm stealing from your closet.
May as well. Yep.
But yeah, I was realizing, though, that part of the routing divergence here is Fred's already activated the flute. Pikapals didn't have this option because he had to go to Kakariko to activate the flute.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Mired Shed will give us Tempered, so Fred is well equipped for doing Mire. Oh, and one thing about the lamp, since it's pretty clear that neither runner is going to get it, it was on left side swamp. I don't think either of them is going back for that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. These Mire Dark Rooms are a little tricky, so good luck to Fred getting through those.
Wonder if either of our runners know Spooky Glitch. I forget where Meyer Bicky is. Well, it's decidedly not on the left side.
Nope, looks like Fred is going to be coming up into the lobby and picking up his last sword here. Going to save a little bit of time.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just going to save a little bit of time. Not a huge difference. Trinex will be a little bit faster. Ganon, depending on how good you are with Tempered Sword, might save a little time there, but not huge. Just a little extra.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's one of those things where if it's that much in your path anyway, it probably makes sense to get it. Looks like Pika's gonna do his green pendant turn in.
Yep, had a decent moth fight in the meantime. Got his Skull Woods crystal. And fcoughlin makes it through probably one of the hardest dark rooms in the game. Just throws the Mario block, hit the switch.
And for all that, he misses the switch. Come on, Fred. There we go.
So both our runners kind of converging onto Mire here. Pikapals about a dungeon behind, but has Skull Woods cleared and Thieves Town compared to Fred, so ahead in Crystal Pen.
But interestingly, he decided not to get the Tempered Sword. I wonder if he's just gonna get the upgrade here in the lobby chest and leave it at that.
Yeah, I'd assume he's going to pick up at least one of them.
Yeah, the upgrades would have to be pretty far out of the way for either runner to voluntarily do Master Sword Ganon. And Viddy has our Bombos, so there's Turtle Rock access.
Yep, and at this point, I think we have pretty much everything we're going to need. So, even though we're sort of in a pseudo-go mode from the start, we can say that with Bombos, we're kind of in a more traditional go mode.
And while Fred's in the neighborhood, he's going to clear out the desert as well. And here you see that boots were in fact required, so the runners weren't just getting it to speed up the game. I was looking at the completed dungeon count on the tracker, and I momentarily forgot that Swamp was a pendant, and so they only have 2 and 3 crystals, respectively, not 3 and 4. So Fred will briefly even the crystal count.
Yeah, don't expect he's going to have too much trouble here. He can use the fire rod or the silver arrows. Get a pretty quick kill on Lamolus.
Yeah, fire rod's a bit easier to aim and shoots faster. And also with the butter sword, you can just hack at them a couple of times. Not sure why Fred was pausing there before the crystal grab. I was momentarily afraid he would somehow save and quit before grabbing the crystal.
That would be a disaster, but meanwhile, Pikapals makes the dark rooms as well. Doesn't have any trouble. He's just gonna use these silver arrows here on Vitreous. 1 shot per eyeball, then 2 for the big one.
Oh yeah, since chat's talking about how the spoiler log thing works, this is a good time to mention that not only can the runners continue to refer to the spoiler log during the race, they are also free to snipe each other's feeds. They are free to come in here and chat with us. Sometimes runners do that, like while they're grabbing a crystal and are waiting for the 10-second cutscene.
Yeah, that's true.
Pikapals does go for the first sword. Sorry for stepping on you.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, kind of in contrast to a normal rando where you're not allowed to watch anyone, any of the other racers. You can, like you said, they can watch the restream, watch the other racer, and maybe make some different decisions based on that.
Which also means that the racers generally know who's ahead, though in this case with the route divergence, it's a bit harder to say who's ahead, but... We saw some interesting swag in a race the other night when a runner knew he was far enough ahead that he decided to try hovering the route to Trinex.
Yeah, at this point I'd say Pikapals probably has a pretty solid lead just because he has Skullwoods and Thievestown, and he's only a little bit behind Fred Coughlin on the current route. I expect he'll probably head to Ice shortly after, just as Fred did.
And I realized that by virtue of Pika checking the mire shed after doing mire, he probably saved a couple of seconds because he was better positioned for then immediately mirroring to desert. And those are the sorts of things the advanced runners think about, and I don't. Pika also saving some time by having good silver arrow aim and zero cycling the landmos.
Yeah, there's all kinds of little optimizations you can make. You only have 15 minutes, but the top runners generally do kind of think of the little things.
And with the butter sword, Fred gets about the fastest cold stare fight possible.
Yeah, it's nice when you can route in ice later on in the spoiler races because, as I mentioned earlier, you want to try to pick up as few safeties as you're comfortable with. So sometimes you might have to face cold stare with not too much, but having the butter sword and plenty of hearts kind of trivializes the fight.
Yeah, and blue mail definitely gives you a bit of a margin for error.
So
Looks
yeah,
like...
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, looks like either he didn't check where the big key was, or he forgot where the big key was.
Yeah, it can be a little confusing if you're not used to reading the spoiler logs and you haven't memorized where all the chests are. Like if you just play regular rando, you're kind of like, oh, which chest is the compass chest or the map chest again?
Well, in this case, the big key was vanilla, so the log literally says big key and big key chest. But yeah, there were some things in the log that took me a bit to decipher, like in GT, there's a room that's just labeled DM's room. I would call that Stalfos room, but whoever designed the log decided to name it for Dark Magician. To answer a question in chat, if you want to see a sample log, the easiest way to do it is just go to the Randomizer site, which I believe is just ALTTPR.com. And if you create your own randomized seed on the site, it'll come with a spoiler log.
Yeah, that's true. It's also worth pointing out that Sinek, who's organized this tournament, has posted his own instance of the randomizer, and logs that the racers get have a few quality of life improvements. He's posted a link in chat here. They show some things like the tree poles and the crab, some stuff like that, the stun prize, just some little extra stuff to make routing a little bit easier. Fred heading into the blind fight, and Well, meanwhile, Pikapals is heading up to Turtle Rock. It'll be his last dungeon before Ganon's Tower.
Wow, so Pikapals really has a pretty substantial lead now. And you can see the red mail over there on Floating Island. I don't think either of our runners are going to get that.
Yeah, fair to say Pikapals has a pretty commanding lead. Never over till someone crosses the bridge, but it's certainly his race to lose.
Yeah, he'd have to, like, die to Trinex and not have taken a safety exit for Fred to catch up at this point. Never say never, but that seems unlikely with the Buttersword and Blue Mail.
Maybe he gets sniped by one of these rollers, but gets an extra heart, just gonna mirror out. Chain jumps are pretty tough too, so once he makes it past those, he'll probably be not having too much trouble for the rest of the dungeon.
And Fred collects his 6th crystal, so he will be on his way to Turtle Rock shortly.
And Pikapals makes it through the chain chomps room, using the iframes from the pegs there. That's a nice way to kind of avoid chain chomps charging at you.
Just to answer chat, Lamp was in left side swamp.
Yeah, at that point it wasn't really worth picking up, especially since both of our runners made it through Mire without too much trouble. Pikapals needs to be a little careful here. He's only on 1 heart.
Yeah, though I think he has a fairy in a bottle, if I remember.
Yeah, true. He does still have a fairy. Ooh, and the Pokeball.
And now he doesn't have a fairy.
This is another dungeon that's pretty nice to route with the spoiler logs, since you know where the keys are. You don't have to spend any extra time checking the big chest if you don't need to, stuff like that.
And likewise, Lava Chest. Now Pikapals needs to start being careful. 4 hearts and no fairy.
Yeah, it makes it through that dark room without too much trouble. That one can be a little tricky if you get lost when you're in the dark, but doesn't have to worry about that too much. Really nice laser skip too there.
So yeah, should be okay with 5 hearts on Trinex with Blue Mail and Buttersword, but it is worth noting he didn't take any safety exits, so if for some reason he doesn't make this, he's going back to the start.
And get some down.
And does escape. So we are now going to see Ganon's Tower. We will not play the GT Big Key guessing game because we know where the key is, but if you want to guess in chat what chest or room you think the big key is in, feel free.
Yeah, especially since we know that the key is probably going to be pretty early. I imagine it'll probably just get the big key, 1 or 2 small keys, and then head up. As well as any small keys you might need on the way.
Yeah, unless there's some really critical item in GT Basement, you're not going to see the big key be more than about maybe the 4th item they grab out of a chest. Oh, grabbing the key off of Bob's torch made me think about how, frequently Bob gets powdered, which made me think about, there is no powder today, so I'm wondering where that was. Well, that was Skullwood's compass chest. No wonder we didn't see it.
Yep, that is a little out of the way. So Pikapals just heading straight left. Not finding a key yet, but only a matter of time now.
Looks like Fred's going to take a safety exit here.
Yeah, it looks like he picked up the mushroom in the big chest. Since he didn't get powder, he might be planning on using that to take powder later on.
I mean, I guess he could do that in the room before the bridge to Trinex. Seems like a fair amount of work, but it's possible. He also needs to be careful here. I think he has a fairy too.
Well, Pikapal is heading down to almost 2, so I guess looks like the big key was in right next to its vanilla location.
Yeah, we've had a number of seeds in this tournament where the big key was in its vanilla room, even if not in its vanilla chest.
So at this point, he has Buttersword, Red Mail, Silvers. Probably won't be stopping for much unless maybe an extra heart or something. On the way.
And as we were saying, Fred did fake powder and anti-fairy in that room.
Yeah, that's a pretty convenient spot, especially with the full magic refill or Trinex.
Oh, and Fred's positioning himself behind to try for the 0 cycle. But because he got hit, he didn't quite manage the 0 cycle. Still a very fast Trinex battle. Oh, Pika drops into land mode too.
Pretty nice quick kill there. Just like the first. Question in chat, where were boots? Boots were in the Swamp Palace compass chest. So the one at the bottom underneath the big chest.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the spoiler log for GT. The entire tower is complete, total, and utter junk. Other than the big key, the only thing in the whole tower of remote value is that there's a full heart container in the compass room.
Yep, not bothering with anything. Not even the last chest.
Yeah, that would have been purely for swag if he had gotten it. And he already got the swag net for swag, so... maybe he'll use it on Aga here, just... you know. Nice double. And we have a triple-double here.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid fight. 3 cycle. About the best you can hope for. Sometimes, you know, maybe you can get a 2 cycle, but 3 is pretty solid.
That is an awesome message from Ganon. I haven't seen that one before.
Yeah, I believe that was one of the messages added in by Synac here. Who's added a few extra touches to the ROM.
Yeah, there was one the other day that was like, Kyong would have done it sub 50.
That's pretty good. Pikapals makes it to phase 3 in no time at all, and just one more hit in phase 4.
And we have bacon.
Yep, just has to not fall off a bridge, and he will be our winner tonight. And GG to Pikapals. He finishes SRL time, not counting the 15 minutes study time, 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 52 seconds.
Let's get his tracker marked, and then we can get him in here for an interview.
In the meantime, Fred makes it past Lamo 2, the Silver Arrows. Just needs to make it to the top floor of Ganon's tower, and then fight Ganon as well.
Okay, tracker has marked the winner, which means that an automatic invite should have been sent to Pikapals to join us in here. And he is in the setup room. We are joined here by Pikapals, GG.
Hey, GG.
So, how about that hour 5 spoiler log seed?
It was something. Like, it kind of front-loaded the hard stuff with 4-heart pod. And then it should have been easy if I hadn't played terribly in Turtle Rock the entire time.
Yeah, I would say pod was your roughest.
Yeah, it was. One of those was probably going to happen regardless, just because 4-heart pod with doing hammer yump is rarely going to end well. The second one was just unlucky. Like that one guy shooting fire instantly got me.
Yeah, I was actually worried about your second hammer yump because you were down to 1 heart again.
Yeah, I took that one extra safe. I waited until he shot fire to start moving.
But yeah, I'm sure you were excited when you saw that Swamp was absolutely required for both required boots and the Cane of Samaria.
Oh yeah, of course. The only way to make it better would have been to put Hookshot over there as well.
Well, we decided when we were reading the log that the chances were you probably weren't gonna.
Yeah, Swamp was definitely interesting. Putting the lamp over there just makes everything very confusing.
But nice job with spooky action in the dark.
Thanks. Luckily, the second part of spooky action isn't too bad. It's just knowing when to move diagonal to not run straight into a skeleton.
So how are you feeling about this tournament in general, since this is kind of a new thing for everyone?
It's been pretty fun. Going to need to start playing better in spots, but other than that, yeah, it's kind of interesting being able to just plan your route halfway on the fly, kind of get to basically just route out a new game almost every time you play it, which is fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a big change from the normal blind run setup.
Yeah, for sure. There's just potentially a lot of different openings you can go for, depending on where everything is. Whereas with regular randomizer, most people are probably going to stick to one opening.
Sorry to cut in, but Fred has just taken down Ganon, and he will walk through the door with an official SRL time of 1:11:16, so GG. Let's see if we can also get him in here, and then you guys can compare notes.
So while we're waiting, Pikapals, do you have any certain method you use or anything to decide what safeties you go for, or do you have any kind of minimum, or do you just pick up whatever's on the way?
Honestly, it's usually just whatever's on the way. I like to try for either 6 hearts and armor or 7 hearts at least. But other than that, it's just these items are close, I'll grab them.
And how do you like to route these seas in general? Like when you have to budget your 15-minute time, do you have any special method or any items you look for first or anything like that?
No, I just go from the top down. I start writing down every item that matters and every safety that looks reasonable, and then start organizing once I've gotten everything written and have reached the bottom.
So we have your item count coming up here. 68, so that's about par for the course for a spoiler log.
Yeah, honestly, it's a good amount higher than normal. I did open a few extra chests on accident, and honestly, there were a surplus of safeties that just normally aren't right next to you.
Yeah, you went into Paradox Cave and got the hearts and bottles out of there.
Yeah, normally I'd skip Paradox if there's not anything important, but 2 hearts and a fairy are hard to pass up.
Yeah, and it was a good thing you picked up that fairy, too.
Yeah, it worked out. It prevented me from losing a ton of time to getting sniped by a pokey randomly.
And let's see if we can get Fred in here. Is he not going to be able to join us? Oh, and just as an interesting thing to announce, since we were discussing the clever Ganon text this time around, if you are on the Spoiler Tournament's Discord, there's now a Ganon Triforce text channel in there for where Sinak, the organizer of the tournament, will take suggestions for Ganon text and Triforce text to use in the rest of the tournament. And if you are not in the Discord, I believe there is an invite on the spoiler log homepage. Oh, in fact, there is a link to the Discord in the automated message from Speed Gaming there that's in chat.
Indeed. Should totally join that if you're interested. They have people set up practice races, as well as in the main ALTTPR Discord. You can organize races in there. Also, looks like Fred has turned down an interview, so he won't be joining us tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, GG to him in any case. And also on that note, do give both of our runners a follow here. They certainly slogged through one of the more challenging spoiler log seeds that we've had just because of the extra routing required.
Yep. GG to you, Pikapals. Pretty well played.
Oh, thanks. GG to Fred.
And also thanks to our tracker, the palindromic Samamas, who has done a great job tonight keeping track of everything. And by the way, Pikapals, I was going to wait until you and Fred were both in here, but since he's not coming, I'll ask you, have you guys decided on a time for your next match yet?
Yeah, we're going to have it tomorrow at the same time.
Okay, cool. So that means that the first round of this tournament could possibly wrap tomorrow night, because we are having the second match between Odyssey 101 and Chelsea fcoughlin in about 15 minutes on SG2. So if you liked what you saw here and want to see more spoiler log tonight, turn over to SG2 in 15 minutes. And then Pikapals and fcoughlin will be having their second match tomorrow night, channel to be determined. Quizbowl and Zelda Desan will also be having their second match tomorrow night, and Odyssey 101 and Chelsea fcoughlin will be having their third match tomorrow, if it needs to go to a Game 3. And those are the only pairs that have not already finished their matches for round 1, so get your hype up for the soon-to-be happening round 2. And the winner of this, by the way, will be facing Salty Fry in that round.
Yeah, I know I'll be checking out round 2. It's only going to be getting closer and more competitive as the weeks go on, so it'll be interesting to see that.
Yeah, and we have a lot of good runners in this, so I just find it interesting to see how the top runners adapt to a situation where they actually know where the items are and can plan their routing in advance. And like we were saying, Pikapals, we were discussing that you were kind of clever with how you routed the Meyer area that you went to, Meyer Shed, afterwards. And it's not something we would have thought of, but it did save a tiny bit of time since you were able to mirror straight out of there to desert. So, GG for being able to factor stuff like that in on the fly when you only have 15 minutes to plan.
Yeah, stuff like that is it's something I've put a lot of thought into, because sometimes it's possible it might just be faster to mirror straight from Meyer entrance and walk in the front door. But I think, honestly, this might have been one of those times since I was so low on arrows, but I was able to shore that up in the on the way to the big chest room, and then just mirror out of there instead.
Yeah, I mean, apart from item counts, it was definitely shorter to go in the way you did.
Yeah. Also didn't help that I didn't remember what was in the second Meyer shed chest and was hoping it was there.
Well, I don't think that cost you too much time.
Not really. Luckily, it's just literally right next to it.
Yeah.
Oh, and Pikapals, since in this tournament you are allowed to watch the restream or your opponent's stream, I was curious if you were paying attention at all, or if you changed your route based on that, or if that was something you were planning on doing throughout the tournament.
No, I usually don't watch restreams in any of the tournaments I've been in. I just find trying to watch that stuff too distracting from doing the actual run.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, any final thoughts here?
No, not really. Just hope the race is continue to be fun, and maybe next time they won't require all 3 pendant dungeons.
Hey, at least you only had to beat one of the 3.
Yeah, at least there's that. They just made us get the worst chest in one of them and go halfway through the other.
Yeah. But yeah, so GG again. Good luck to both of our runners tomorrow night. And for our viewers, tune in to SG2 in 10 minutes for the next match in this tournament. And Cassidy Moen, it was a pleasure working with you tonight.
Yeah, it was a fun race to watch and fun to commentate with you.
So that'll do it. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.